Our next port of call was Australia, and we were fortunate we got a 6-month visa. Here's a few need-to-know facts before you consider travelling to Australia. I like to find out about a few fun facts when I'm visiting countries, and Australia was no exception. Here's a few for you. Australia has more kangaroos than it does people. This is an important one. 10,000 beaches in Australia. That's one for every day for the next 27 years. You'll have no difficulty seeing the koala bears because they sleep up to 20 hours every day. Lorraine and I have decided Captain Cook is our hero, and we're going to follow his example by travelling north up the east coast of Australia. Wish us luck. We took a 15-hour flight from LAX airport to Sydney. It's long but comfortable. Travel, the only way to live. Whenever you're in a foreign country, it's always best to learn their language. So here we are in Australia, and I thought I'd give you a few tips to help you on your way. If you want to say good morning, simply say good day, mate. And for goodbye, they commonly use the term see you later. The construction of the Sydney Harbour Bridge started in 1923, and it took 8 years to complete. It was officially opened on March the 19th, 1932. The pylons themselves have no structural purpose. They're actually only there to provide an arch frame. They were only added after public concern about the structural integrity of the bridge. Sydney Harbour Bridge has the widest span in the world, and there is 1,390 steps to the top of the bridge and 1,390 steps all the way back down to the bottom. Well worth the walk. Hopefully you now know a lot about the bridge. Let's have a look and see what we can tell you about the Opera House. It took 14 years to build the Sydney Opera House, and it was opened in October 1973. Performances are attended by 1.4 million people each year. Wonderful, wonderful sights. Let me show you the last one, and it'll blow your mind. A perfect combination. How lucky we are. A pie and an ocean view. What more could a person wish for? We had a week of snorkeling, diving and surfing. It couldn't have been better. There's one thing that I forgot to mention, and that is Lorena couldn't swim. However, she's not afraid of water, and she was well looked after in the many, many adventures that we achieved. The photograph in the top right-hand corner, that's Lorena on the left and Matthew on the right, getting ready to do their first dive of the day. Without doubt, this is one of the proudest days of my life. Well done, Matthew. After Matthew's graduation, we decided to hire a small camper van and work our way across the outback as best we could. At the camper rental location, we asked for a price for 3.5 months of travelling. The gentleman quoted us $155 per day. We told him we couldn't possibly afford that, and he told us we could have a 5-year-old vehicle, and that would be $100 a day. We informed him that we could not afford that. He said again, you can have a 10-year-old one for $55 a day. Quickly my reply was, do you have a 20-year-old one? So we had to settle for the 10-year-old one. It wasn't very big, but it was very comfortable. We now had our transportation, and all we had to do now was decide, where do we go? Australia is a big, big place. There are no fences around the fields as you drive through the outback. You always have to be well aware that cows have priority. Nature is so, so clever. If this doesn't look like an alligator to you, then it must be me. I really enjoy the Aussies' sense of humour. Is Wentworth, and that's the Darling River and the Murray River which are merging. As we always do, we go to the visitor centre in the little towns. It's always a good start to find out what to do and sometimes what not to do. The young lady in this visitor centre told me Wentworth was the centre of the universe. I had no idea the centre of the universe was in the middle of Australia. Picture on the right is the lookout point that they've built so you can get a good view of the rivers merging. And the picture on the bottom left is the photograph we took from the very top. And Biglesy was created to clear land for soldier settlement blocks, particularly in the Red Cliffs area of Victoria. The tractor could actually clear 50 acres of land per day. Some machine. Every day we enjoyed the wildlife in the wild. Emus were frequently running across the road in front of us. We saw lots and lots of koala bears every day in the trees, but the one that Lorena is standing next to there was at a wildlife sanctuary. We adopted our rule number 1 as we drove across the outback, and that was simple. If we saw a petrol station, or gas station as it's known in the United States, you stop and fill up. You never know where the next petrol station is going to be. We saw lots of kangaroos every day. We also discovered that there's 4 different types of kangaroo. Lorraine and I were overjoyed when we saw this kangaroo with a joey in her pouch. We woke up one morning and we had visitors. They were posing for photographs and videos. One day as we were driving along, when we hadn't seen another car, vehicle or house for about 5 hours, we came across a sign which had bullet holes in it, and it said, Opal Mine, to the right. I said to Lorena, have you ever been to an opal mine? She said, nope, never even heard of one. A quick pull of the wheel, and we turned right, and on our way to our first ever opal mine. The place was enormous. There was 2 buildings. On the right hand side was the pub, and on the left hand side was the village store. There was lots of places to park, and so we parked the vehicle, wandered down to the village store, which was quite well stocked for being out in the middle of nowhere. That evening we went to the pub, and we were talking to the gentleman in the pub about the opal mines, and he gave us a good brief detail of what it was all about. But he said, you have to come back tomorrow night because there's a shindig. The opal miners have a shindig every Friday night. Lorraine and I had never been to an opal miners shindig, so we decided we would stay the extra night. These photographs show how the men dig for their opals. That 45-gallon drum you can see going up the trail is normally underground, and as they dig in, they fill it up with the rocks, pull it up, tip it out, and start all over again. We joined the men at the shindig, and after a couple of beers, I asked the men how they decide where to dig the holes. And I was informed, oh, it's just random. And I said, well, what's it like? How long are you underground every day? I was informed 10 to 12 hours. The 4 guys we were drinking with informed us they didn't find many opals, and being underground for 10 to 12 hours was good practice for when they're buried. These are just a few random photographs we took as we travelled through the outback. The 2 on the top right hand side, that waterfall just disappears straight into the ground. There was no puddles anywhere. Bottom left, that's Lorena sitting in an underground motel. And the one in the middle, obviously, that's when she's getting ready to cook in our executive camper. Today we took the opportunity to visit this remote New South Wales Meteorological Office. The gentleman who operated the weather station all by himself was very, very accommodating. His coffee and biscuits were first class, and then he took me outside so I could launch the weather balloon. The next couple of slides are just a selection of random photographs we took as we drove along. Whenever we got the opportunity, we went on hikes. And if you look at the center, bottom one, you can see how straight the road is. As far as the eye could see in both directions, totally straight. The road signs in Australia are somewhat different to those I've experienced in the United States and England. One in particular, in the bottom left-hand corner, that's a camel, and there's a story behind that. When Australia was first populated by the British prisoners, there was no roads, and so they imported camels from Saudi Arabia. Of course, once the roads were built, there was no use for the camels, so they were let go. And now there's herd upon herd of them throughout Australia, because they have no predators. As we did just about every day, we were driving along, completely relaxed on the nice straight roads. Then out of nowhere, an Australian convoy of road trains would appear, either from behind or in front. These road trains are pulling 40-foot containers, and on average they're 175 feet long and weigh about 300 tons. Multiply that by 3 because they come in convoys of 3, and the air displacement they pass is like being hit by a hurricane. I took a flight to Alice Springs, then a 2-day tour to Uluru. It was quite expensive, but it was well worth every single penny. Originally known as Ayers Rock, the name was changed to Uluru National Park. The change was put in place to show respect for the Andagu people and especially to acknowledge their ownership of the land. After just short of driving across the outback for 3 months, we finally made it to the Great Ocean Road, and we spent 3 days slowly meandering round, enjoying every sight we could possibly find. The photograph in the centre is the Loch Ard Gorge, and you will find out in the next few slides how it came to be named. We rented a car, and in the afternoon we drove down to Phillips Island. The penguins don't come out of the ocean until dusk, so we had plenty of time to wander around the island before they came. It was an experience well worth it. Have you ever wondered why penguins are coloured the way they are? Well, here is the answer. When they're lying in the water, birds above them can't see them because they're black on the back. And the fishes that would like to eat them are swimming around underneath, and can't see them because the white reflects off the sky. Nature has created some incredible views down the Great Ocean Road. This final slide shows you 2 photographs of the Great Ocean Road. If you get the opportunity to drive down there, don't miss it. Melbourne is a big city, but it has a beautiful park as well. Very, very nice to visit. As this slide shows you, we took a return flight with the same airline all the way back from Sydney to LAX. The end. We really hope you've enjoyed watching this as much as we have enjoyed the last 14 years of travelling the world. Travelling, the only way to live.